Eyes of Darkness novel. Is it a prophecy or a marketing game? March the 10th, 2020. Suddenly, the world is moving from silence towards coronavirus to fear and terror. The epidemic is no longer a secret, but it is a proven fact for daily victims. Politicians in developed countries have entered the deficit stage. A quarter of Italy is separated from the rest of the country. All of the north, including the Milanese, Venice, and Milan. With a dangerous statement to doctors, they will care only for the less old and have hope for recovery. Parts of France are also isolated. We're not talking about China, Iran, and other countries that are not showing any tragedy for the virus for fear of tourism. We can imagine the situation of some of the densely populated Arab countries that were found to have been infected after they returned from these countries. But the most strange of all, this is a novel by an American writer, Dean Ray Koontz, The Eyes of Darkness, which sparked an unprecedented debate in recent days about proactive and exotic expectations literature. Was the fact that the novel was proactive, which means that the writer had real secret information that he used to use as a novelist? Or is the media and marketing a huge subject for a propaganda need? Everything is possible. Just as there are a wealthy of classical wars, there are also the wealthy of epidemics from commercial laboratories, and humans invest in the tragedies of people who stick to the straw of the drowning in the most difficult moments. For those who do not know Dean Koontz, he's an American writer who is known for his genre fiction and science fiction. He was born in July the 9th, 1945 in Everett, Pennsylvania. Most of his novels are bestseller. He wrote many novels that were made cinematically, including Mirrors of Blood, Mask of Forgetfulness, Sound of Darkness, Grey Plague, Frankenstein 2, I Like Thomas the Stranger, and others. Eyes of Darkness is a novel that has caused all buzz recently on the level of social media, so that there are many clips that were filmed and broadcast widely and received echoes in most of them, confused about the accuracy of what was stated in them, and prove what is happening today with Corona, as if we were facing a prophet or informant familiar with accurate microbial information. It appears at first sight that the novel accurately predicted the epidemic of the coronavirus nearly 40 years ago. It was published in 1981. Does it make sense? This question belongs to any reader who thinks with his mind and not what he hears and sees on screens that are able to create illusion. The story on which the novel was built is simple, occurring thousands of times a day across the world, especially car accidents. It was built over 4 days, from December the 13th to January the 2nd. A similar starter, La Seule Survivante, Christina Evans, an American trip that went missing after losing her son Danny in a bus accident that ripped his body and became difficult to recognize. From that moment on, abnormal phenomena began to multiply over Christina, to the point where she began to doubt her mental well-being, especially when she found in her son Danny's room cries written in the chalk on the board of his room. So she decided to verify herself the strange story. She is determined to open the grave, but she is subjected to an assassination attempt, and she begins to process of following up the incident to realize that in the end she did not even see the body of her son, because she was told that he was maimed by the violence of the incident. Is what happened to her son just a coincidence, or something behind is already planned? The book was published in French edition in the French Pocket series in March 1990, in 345 pages. What made this novel reappear and turn into a literary phenomenon is its final chapter, when we discover that Danny did not die but was booked by an American scientist conducting bacterial experiments on Danny, and they injected him with the Wuhan 400 virus, a fatal and destructive virus at the same time. It was prepared in laboratories near the Chinese city of Wuhan, hence its name Wuhan 400. It is a deadly ideal weapon that leaves no trace, only touches humans' lives outside the human body, resists outside, endures changing weather conditions, and from there it moves to man easily. The novelist accurately describes the virus. The person who touches the virus will experience dizziness, followed by a sensation of hysterical conditions that develop in sections, causing the patient to tear the protective clothing of doctors who come to take the patient to isolate him, followed by a rapid death of the patient. This relieves the Chinese government, as the narration says, from material losses and wasting time in patients whose use is not beneficial. If I understand you well, when the use of Wuhan 400 is done, the Chinese can annihilate an entire city or country, and they will not need to do the city's treatment of the costly disease. Of course, regardless of whether or not it is true, the ideological war against China is clear in the narration, as it was before the time of the Soviet Union. The Wuhan 400 virus, dangerous and contagious, can kill the victim within 4 hours of its appearance. Most of them die within 12 hours. The death rate is 100%. This information, which brings us closer to what is happening today with the coronavirus, it made many people view the novel, Eyes of Darkness, as a preemptive action. Many media channels investigated this strange subject, only to discover later that the novel had undergone fundamental changes in its new edition. For example, Wuhan 400 was not presented in the first edition. The name of the virus was Gorky, Russia 400, so it was converted in the new editions to Wuhan 400, which indicates that the game is a powerful structure for surprising readers through the conspiracy theory rooted in them. This was carefully arranged by the publishing house for sale. Ideological War made this novel sell well from 1981 to 2008, when the virus was transmitted from Gorky to Wuhan. The novel turned into a prophecy, even though Eyes of Darkness is a detective novel thriller. Suddenly, its stock price increased, and the pocket edition sold up to €400. The novel is part of the ideological war against the Chinese giant whose economy is shaken because of the coronavirus. The novel opened our eyes to a possible bacterial war that might come on green and dry. Here we arrive to the end of the video. Please, if you like it, press on the like button, share, and do not forget to subscribe. Bye bye!